Welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast with your host, Funk Roberts.
We are live, and welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast. This is episode number 147, and I'm your host, Funk Roberts, former professional athlete turned master metabolic trainer and fitness expert specifically for men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And this podcast is for you, the man in your 40s. This is where we talk about hormones, talk about how to naturally increase testosterone, talk about fitness and overall health, nutrition. We talk about sleep. We talk about supplementation, and we talk about recovery. And today we're going to talk about one of the most powerful, no pun intended, tools, recovery tools that all of us need to have in our toolbox as we get older, and that is breath work. That's breathing. And one of the things, first and foremost, before we get started, I have created a 21-day breathwork challenge where you'll learn how to use diaphragmatic breathing, and deep breathing techniques over 21 days. There'll be 7 different sessions that we'll go through and that you'll use. And this is going to introduce you to breathwork, introduce you to the benefits of breathwork, the physical benefits, the mental benefits, the physiological benefits, the emotional benefits of using breathwork on a daily basis. And I will guide you through 7 different breathing sessions over 21 days. And it's all there for you. You just click play and follow the instructions. So if you want access to my 21-day breath work using deep breathing, using tactical breathing, using Wim Hof's power breathing, go to over40shred.com/breathwork. Okay, that's it. over40shred.com/breathwork. Grab my 21-day breathwork challenge or program for men over 40 and dive in, because recovery is one of the pillars of health, both physical recovery, which we do with yoga and mobility training and, all of the physical things that we do to help us recover from workouts or just, from the daily grind, and also mental recovery, which is things like gratitude journaling, things like meditation, and what we're going to talk about today, breath work for men over 40. And so for me, using breathing and breath work kind of started, when I was younger as an athlete, right? I was a professional athlete. And one of the things I remember hearing, do you remember, if you recall back, in the day, specifically if you're a runner, or back when we used to do track and field in grade school or high school or gym class, whenever you got tired, your teacher or your coach back then would tell you, don't bend over, stand up straight and put your hands over your head. That's going to bring in more oxygen. And I remember I've heard this so many times throughout my life, the opposite of that, right? So I remember as a volleyball player, right? Specifically on the beach, when I transitioned onto the beach volleyball, I played, at the highest level. One of the things that volleyball players do when they're on the beach is they bend over and put their hands on the shorts, right? And that's the position. That's your ready position. Right? A lot of people call the athletic position. That's a ready position. You're literally put your hands on your shorts, right? Or down, but generally it's just on your shorts. And you're breathing, getting oxygen in the lungs. You're preparing for the serve coming at you, and you're relaxed. And so I don't remember exactly which coach or who I heard this from, but they told me you are going to be able to breathe in more. You have more lung capacity when you're bent over than when you do when your hands are up. And that makes 100% sense physically, because let's do this right now. If you're breathing here, I want you to put your hand over your head and try to breathe in, right? It's difficult to breathe in with your hands over your head. Now I want you to bend over and take deep breaths. Now try that again with your hands up. So if we look at what's happening with your body during that, the two things that I just talked about, when your hands are over your head, you are closing up your lungs. Your chest is contracting, right? You're elongating your body. So everything's starting to get small. Your lung capacity closes up, tightens up. When you're bent over, right, which in the past would be, oh, that guy must be tired. And yes, 100%. There are people who bend over when they're tired. Yes, no doubt. But when you're bent over and you breathe, you can take in more oxygen. That opens up your lungs. So the worst thing you can do after you sprint or run or what have you is put your hands over your head, because you're not going to be able to get oxygen in. And so I learned that from a young age. Well, not a young age. I was in my early 20s. That was a way to get more oxygen into the body. The second thing in my life when breathwork became evident is with the O2 trainer. No, actually, I'm going to back up, because I don't believe the O2 trainer came after Thailand. So the second time would have been Thailand. When I went to Thailand, the very first time in 2009, I went to Tiger Muay Thai. And that year, it's either 2009, 2010. The year I went to Tiger Muay Thai, Hoist Gracie was holding a seminar. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to a Hoist Gracie seminar. I still have the shorts that he signed. And not only did I go to that seminar, but Hoist used me most of the time as his dummy, I guess, right? Putting me in triangles and grappling with me on the ground. And it was incredible. It was an incredible experience. But during that time, Hoist talked about diaphragmatic breathing and how his family uses, and again, this is back in 2009, but he was probably talking about even before that, that his father and family, they would use diaphragmatic breathing to help them recover, right? And how he used that a lot during those, times where you're fighting for 30 minutes. He rolled and fought for long periods of time. It wasn't the 5-minute rounds back then. It was like, you're going as long as you can, 30 minutes, an hour, however long it was. But they use that diaphragmatic breathing. They would go to the beach and they would, and that's how they would recover, on the stool. They would, you hear a lot of, at that time, fighters or what have you, their coaches, deep breaths, right? And generally through the chest, which again, this is the stress. This is where we're stressed. But they were using diaphragmatic breathing, which allowed them to recover faster and win more. So that's when I was introduced to diaphragmatic breathing and what that was. And then Bas Rutten came out with something called the O2 trainer, which was still has it. It was something you would use that would increase your lung capacity and strength, putting this, I guess, apparatus in your mouth. And that's what you would breathe through. You'd breathe through the apparatus, and it came with these little things that would have a breathing hole this big, and then the hole would get smaller and smaller. And so it would restrict your breathing, but you start with obviously a bigger hole, and then as your breathing and lung capacity gets better, you would get the next slot, put it in, and now you're back to trying to continue to increase your lung capacity and strength and breathing. And I was one of Bass's ambassadors for that, affiliates, ambassadors, whatever. Shout out to Boss, shout out to his wife. His wife and I actually, we spoke a lot through this because Boss is busy doing his other stuff. She's amazing. Anyway, so I was an O2 trainer. You could go back on YouTube and put Funk Roberts O2 trainer, see some of the workouts. But that was my key for training Muay Thai, the O2. So once again, learning more about the power of breathing. And then, of course, I think it was 6 years ago, I was introduced to Wim Hof and really dove into Wim Hof power breathing and also used his power breathing techniques to help me recover from something called crypto-organizing pneumonia that I had about 6-7 years ago, that I was on my deathbed. Literally, I was dying. Like literally, I was put on my deathbed to die. And my recovery process I used power breathing to help speed up my recovery process. I was on prednisone. So after the doctors found out it was crypto-organized pneumonia, you can look what that is. It's a lung disorder, very rare. After my operation, the doctor put me on prednisone and said to me that I would be on this for at least 2 years while my lungs, because they were inflamed, it was completely black. If you looked at the X-rays, it was literally like no lung, pretty much. And this wasn't from smoking or anything. It was just something rare. And but needed to have prednisone. And if you guys know what prednisone is, the worst freaking catabolic steroid in the world. It kills everything. Your muscles, your T levels, your hormones are all messed up. Your head gets twice the size. Your belly's huge. It literally eats your muscles. Like I have pictures of me with a 5-pack, like 6-pack -1, and that one muscle was flat. Like it's so weird. But he told me that, this is going to save your life, which it did. But I wasn't satisfied with this 2-year thing, right? There's no way I could be on this for 2 years. So I used power breathing to help with my lungs. And 6 months later, I'm off. 3 months later, my T levels triple. It was truly just, now during the 6 months, it was tough. I was going to the gym, getting on the treadmill, literally coughing up a lung. Like when people say coughing up a lung, I was coughing up my lung. It was horrible. I was loud. It was terrible. People are like thinking I'm dying on the treadmill. But I use power breathing to help with my recovery process, both on a daily and also on the treadmill. And then I went to a Wim Hof workshop years later to really and truly harness power breathing. Now, I'm in no way a breathing expert. This is not what I do, but I have used breathing over the years to help with everything. I mean, it physically, emotionally, physiologically, the mental focus, because as we get older, us men, there's a couple of things that we're struggling with, man. Obviously, the physiological changes that happen to us, hormonal, muscle decrease because of sarcopenia. Then we have our mental focus and our mental capacity starts to decrease. Cognitive, our cognitive functions start to decrease as we get older if we're not doing something to stimulate it. And then our mental health, stress, anxiety, depression, suicide. I always say this, man, we lead the league in suicide attempts and completions. And we don't want to be leading the league in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s as men. We need to be there for our families. We need to be there for the community around us that needs us, our kids, our grandkids, etc. And as men, we suppress a lot. We've suppressed a lot. I mean, we're in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. We're Gen Xers. We lived in I feel the greatest generation ever. But back then, there were no phones and ways and the internet wasn't around when we were younger. And there's a lot of crap that we went through. Plus, as if you were in the military or, what have you, there's a lot of PTSD. I'm not sure how much you've done to release it. But the point I'm trying to make is it wasn't tough to talk to somebody. It wasn't tough to tell someone you felt depressed. You weren't tough to tell someone you were stressed. You had to suppress that. But now we have to wear the mask, right? The mask of, oh, no, I'm good. That's like, how you doing, my brother? How you doing? I'm good. No, you're not good, man. You're wearing a mask and I can see that mask eroding because by the time we get 40, 50, 60, 70, our masks have eroded and you're not fooling anybody. That's why we get depressed. That's why we get anxious. That's why we have mental health issues. And so with all of these things happening, we need to find ways to recover from mental stress, recover and ways to deal with some of the things that we have not dealt with, that we've left unsolved, that we've left undealt with, if that makes any sense. And so finding ways like gratitude journaling and meditation, which I've talked about in the past, and now I'm going to talk about breath work, is key, right? This is, for us, the strategy of using breath work, and we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into this, it's going to help us combat issues that arise, because if we implement this on a regular basis, it's going to help us activate our body's natural parasympathetic response, right? We have the autonomic nervous system, right? Which is broken down into two kind of branches, right? We have the sympathetic nervous system and we have the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, which a lot of times most of us have lived in, is that it activates the body's fight or flight response, right? So our heart rate increases. This is what we need to prepare us for a stressful or emergency situation. This is actually the system that helps us survive. It's there for us, for our survival, right? Like specifically back in the day, cavemen, what have you, whatever, the Paleolithic times when we needed to survive. Heart rate increases, blood pressure rises, breathing starts to accelerate, right? Our bronchioles, like they dilate, our pupils dilate, our digestion slows down, and our muscles restrict, like where the blood flow goes directly to our muscles, right? And because this is when we're you're getting either stressed or you're angry or you're scared. Sweat glands start to stimulate, and you start to release adrenaline and noradrenaline. You may be feeling this right now as I'm describing this, right? And our sympathetic nervous system, although it mobilizes our energy and our resources, because we need to respond to immediate threats. But we can't live in there. Most of us live in a sympathetic nervous system body, always stressed, always feeling like, well, you're not in survival mode, but the body doesn't know any better. The body, if you're going to be like this all the time, your body's going to feel like it's in survival mode. If you're not going to eat the right foods, your body's going to feel like it's in survival mode. Shuts down, slows down. But we want to be in a parasympathetic mode, right? The rest, the digest, right? We want to be, the parasympathetic nervous system promotes relaxation, recovery, focus, right? Our heart rate decreases, our blood pressure lowers, our breathing slows down, right? Deep breathing, our pupils constrict, our digestion stimulates, and then saliva starts to increase so that we can move food and things around the body. Blood flow is directed away from the muscles and towards the digestive organs where we need it. Our sweat glands are pretty much inactive. And this is where our nervous system conserves energy and resources and allows us to make calm, focused decisions. When you're sympathetic dominant, chronic stress, anxiety, high blood pressure, digestive issues, weakened immune system. When you're in a parasympathetic dominant mode, you're in recovery, you're in healing, you can build muscle, you have better energy, you have better focus. What? But we can't be too parasympathetic and too sympathetic, right? We can't be both. We can't be overly. We do need to have stress. Stress is good. We need to have stress. Stress when we work out, stress when we're focusing on something where we definitely need to make specific decisions. We do need that stress. Stress is not bad, but we can't have it chronic. And we do need the parasympathetic system, but it can't be overly parasympathetic where you're just doing nothing all day. You're almost dead. You have no focus. You have no energy. So there's got to be a balance, right? And techniques like deep breathing, meditation, exercising, nutrition, all support that. So when I speak about breathing, I'm going to be focusing more on two different types of breathing. Okay. Diaphragmatic and deep breathing. Because breath work, I think when we think about breathing, we think all this woo-woo stuff, right? We think about, traditional cultures that practiced breathing, right? Ancient roots from India and China and Greece, all of these traditions, breath control was an integral part of their spiritual and meditative practices. So I think what happens is we find that when we think about breathing, we're thinking about, oh, let's go to the Himalayas and go up in the mountains, and we got to go and do all these little breathing things. We're gonna go to this retreat in India with the yogi, and they're gonna teach us all this breathing. Like, we find it very woo-woo-ish, but it couldn't be the opposite, right? It couldn't be the opposite, because when we can implement specific breathing techniques, it's going to emphasize therapeutic and transformative potentials that we can have on our body, physically and mentally, right? Like, if you think about, there's different types. And again, I'm just going to focus on the two that I'm focused on in my 21-day alpha breathwork program, specifically for men. Women, you can use it, but this is more for men because men aren't generally open to mental recovery techniques. Men aren't generally open to gratitude journaling. Men aren't generally open to meditation. And if they are, it's very difficult to know how to start, where to go. Same with breathing. There's so many different types of breathing. There's freaking pranayama breathing, which originates from yoga. There's holotropic breath work. There's rebirthing breath work. There's Buteyko breath method. But there's so many different and all of that in between. So it's very difficult to know which one should I be using, which one should I start with. So I find that doing a 21-day breath work using the breathing that I've used, deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, power breathing, allows you to start somewhere, and to start somewhere with something that's going to be beneficial for you, your overall health, right? You think about box breathing. Let's talk about the opposite of woo-woo. Let's talk about box breathing, tactical breathing that the military and athletes use. Right? The 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. Inhale for 4 seconds, right? Inhale for 4 count. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. And continuing that cycle improves your concentration and improves your performance under stress. So the military, the Navy SEALs, use this type of breathing technique in order to help them focus. And so learning how to breathe and learning how to use it as a recovery tool, as a health tool, is key for us. We have to embrace. So I'm going to talk about the two main breathing that I use. It's diaphragmatic breathing and deep abdominal breathing. And let me just quickly go back to that story of Royce Gracie, who introduced me to diaphragmatic breathing. And when I say introduced, back then in 2009 or before, this breathing wasn't something that everyone spoke about, right? If you knew, you knew. And when I was learning how to breathe as an athlete, it wasn't like, oh yeah, deep diaphragmatic breathing and this and that. But as I continued through my fitness career, learning more about diaphragmatic breathing, specifically starting with, Royce Gracie is the one that literally opened my mind to, oh yeah, okay, let's belly breathing. Oh, this is what they're using, eh? They're using this kind of like the secret. I remember him saying something about, I can't go too deep into it because it's secret. And I was just laughing. It's like, what are you talking about? Secret breathing to help you recover on the stool so you can go out and murder your freaking opponents? I want to learn that. It's really just diaphragmatic breathing. Breathing through the diaphragm, breathing through the belly. And again, I'm not yogis and all of these people knew all this before, but it wasn't something that was in the know. Right now, of course, as I started training with kettlebells and, strength and conditioning for fighting and all of those things, of course, that's where that was the main thing, diaphragmatic breathing. That's breathe through the belly. But still, it's difficult for people to focus on breathing through the diaphragm than it is on breathing up at the top of the chest here, where you can barely get any breath in and you're just all tight. You want to be relaxed. So engaging the stomach, engaging the abdominal muscles and the diaphragm from breathing is going to be beneficial for increasing your oxygen exchange. It's going to slow down the heart rate and it's going to help It's going to help stabilize or even lower your blood pressure. Right? So, and there's research that shows how it can reduce your stress, the cortisol levels. Right? Again, we do need cortisol. Cortisol is not a negative thing. Chronic cortisol is, but right. So when we have the too much stress going on an ongoing basis, we need to find ways to decrease that. Right. Great anti-stress therapy breathing is deep breathing. That's the second thing we're going to talk about. So I talked about diaphragmatic breathing, which is through the diaphragm. Deep breathing kind of takes that to I don't want to say next level, because diaphragmatic breathing is like the foundation of the breath work I'm talking about, right? Breathing through the diaphragm, breathing through the belly. Now you add deep breathing, which is going to integrate diaphragmatic techniques, but now you're going to control your breath. Right? Because when we can control breathing in, hold if we want, or breathe out slowly, breathe in. Now we're in control. Our lung function allows us to draw in more air, right? Our blood and oxygen is transferred better through the body, right? Carbon dioxide coming out. And so there's lots of studies that show that deep breathing, controlled breathing, that's really what it is. Controlled breathing that, will strengthen the respiratory muscles and increase lung capacity. And when you have both of them together, you're going to maximize the ability to manage stress, to enhance your mental focus, to recover in between intervals. If you use my workouts in the Brotherhood, we use metabolic training. We don't have a lot of time in between intervals to rest. 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds rest. 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds rest. 30 seconds of work, 30 seconds rest. 50 seconds of work, 10 seconds rest, which means if you're doing a workout that's a 50-10 circuit, that means exercise 1, 50 seconds, go as many reps as possible, rest for 10 seconds, move on to the next exercise, 50 seconds, rest for 10, move on to the next exercise. So you're moving from one exercise to another with little to no rest in between. How are you going to recover during those 10 seconds to go on to that next exercise and optimize and maximize the reps? You need to find a way to recover quickly. Now, you're not going to fully recover from metabolic training, which is why it's beneficial. It's amazing. I love it. It's, for me, for men over 40, this is how you should be training. For me anyway, sprinkle in other types of training, but metabolic training should be the foundation. You finding ways to recover, get blood, oxygen to the muscles so that you don't hit the lactate threshold too quickly and can continue through the workout without dying in the first round. That's just on the physical portion of it. But again, I talked about this before, right? I talked about how breath work has the physiological effects through the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, right? It's going to help us reduce stress at times when we're going to need to make good decisions. As we get older, we are going to be thrusted into the patriarch role, which means when shit hits the fan, someone dies, something happens, maybe your kids are in a specific situation, someone has a heart attack, something happens around your neighborhood, anything, what have you. When shit hits the fan in your family, mostly, you look up to the patriarch of the family, if there is one, which is going to be you. No matter whether you want to be or not, that's just what happens. You literally, as you get older, are thrusted into this position, which is why we have to optimize, maximize, and have optimal health, overall health, physically, mentally, emotionally. And when those stressful situations come up and everyone's going crazy, oh my God, so-and-so just had a heart attack and died. Oh my God, what do we do? Everyone's going crazy because something happens and no one expected it. It's unexpected. So now, family members are crying and they're all over the place and uncontrollable. And what do we do about this? And how do we set up the viewing of the body and how do we, what I'm trying to say? I gotta breathe here. I gotta breathe, right? Like, there's so many things that are going to be going on during this time. And you, as the patriarch, the man of the family, will need to make sure everyone, and specifically you, are calm during this time. They need you. You need to be the one that goes, okay, no worries. Okay, honey, it's okay. No, we'll figure it out. Don't worry. Okay, yeah. Okay, no problem. I'll take care of the setting up everything for the I don't know why the word isn't coming to my head. Funeral. Thank you. The funeral. Right. Oh, okay. No worries. We'll get the will and all that in place. Okay. Yeah. I'll make sure that we'll have to go to the house and get all of that done. Yeah. Okay. No worries. Like, you have to be the one staying in calm and control while everyone is going crazy. You have to be, okay, no worries. Okay. Yeah. And reassure people and make the right decisions when things are going crazy. You need to be making the right decisions in a calm, conserved manner. There will be time for you after all of this is done to go nuts and get it out. But during this time, we need to be able to focus. So using breath work, not just during, I'm not talking about during, I mean, yes, of course, during that time, but I'm talking like when stuff happens, having this in place as a morning ritual, as a morning routine that allows you to tap into certain breathing techniques that you're going to use in specific situations that allow you to bring down the heart rate, to improve your cognitive functions so you can make a decision that's not going to add to the chaos that's around you. And that's going to keep you healthy, because when there's a lot of stress even around you, we tend to bring that in. So that's number one. The other thing that this helps us with is our overall recovery, our heart rate variability, right? The indicator of our cardiac health, right? Being able to improve cardiac function. American Journal of Cardiology talked about how deep breathing exercises can improve this. And of course, I talked about the enhancement of your cognitive abilities. Brain and Cognition had a study that showed that deep breathing has benefits to cognitive functions, specifically that decline as we age. So for us guys, huge. As well, testosterone levels, right? Our hormonal balance is going to be in play. Remember, too much chronic cortisol. I'm not talking about just regular chronic. That's going to decrease our testosterone. It is going to increase the loss of muscle. It is going to increase your body fat. Well, when you have so much cortisol in your body, it's not about adding fat, it's about adding water retention. When your cortisol levels are high, you retain more water. which feels like you are gaining more weight, which you are. But if you can mitigate the chronic stress, you will, like, that's why I tell people, if the very first thing, if they're like, oh, like guys will say, okay, what's the toughest part of the body to lose weight for us guys as we're going through this transformation? It's the belly, right? The love handle specifically. But a lot of times when someone's struggling, they're doing everything right, nutrition, the workouts, they're doing the mobility, maybe taking good supplements, and then they're like, Funk, I can't get rid of this. Okay. How's your sleep? Oh, I'm getting 5 hours sleep. Okay. Well, that's going to be the key there, because what's happening is you're holding on to whatever's left there, whether it's through water retention or not, the inability to burn that fat. So let's get some sleep, and 9 times out of 10, the 7 to 9 hour sleeps makes a massive difference. In fact, I went through that on our trip to Texas. I had the greatest sleep on that entire 10-day trek through Texas, on the road for 15 hours, in Big Bend National Park, coming back and being a speaker at a keynote speaker at the worst time, right? Like the last day, lunchtime. Let's put Funk in that position where everyone's ready to go, ready to die, ready to pack it up. And Funk comes in and blows everyone away, because I felt great. I had lots of rest. My body, if you looked at my body during that time, you wouldn't have, but like, I felt like I was in the best shape. And here I am on the road most of the time for 10 days straight. So the sleep is key. Obviously, when we can improve our breathing, we will mitigate a lot of the risk factors that come with our age and our health, right? Hypertension, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and our mental health. So implementing deep breathing and diaphragmatic breathing is going to be key. So again, when I talk about diaphragmatic breathing, well, let's just back up and let's just think about the benefits, right? So let's talk about the benefits again, right? We got hormonal benefits, we got cardiovascular benefits, we got cognitive benefits, we got reduced chronic stress, we got testosterone, mental health, overall physical health. So why would we not want to start implementing breathing on every morning? It takes 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Part of your morning routine. Gratitude journal, meditation, breathing. In that order. That's a half hour that sets you up for a win every single day. So let's talk about understanding what diaphragmatic breathing is. Again, diaphragmatic breathing is breathing through the belly. Really and truly, it's belly breathing, right? Which I'll teach you in the 21-day Alpha Breathwork program. So I keep throwing that in there just because. Go to over40shred.com/breathwork, because I find that sometimes when I talk about stuff like this, and I have a program that's designed around this, people are like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. Like, I want to learn how to do this. And I don't want you to have to wait till the end of the podcast. So over40shred.com/breathwork. That's it. Breathwork, all one word, will give you access to the 21-day Alpha Breathwork Challenge or Alpha Breathwork program. Same thing. Guided breathing for 21 days, helping you focus on, I teach you how to do diaphragmatic breathing. So I don't want to go too deep into it. But again, that's like basically when you're breathing through the belly and not through the upper chest. And we talked about why we want to do that, because upper chest, you're going to restrict your breathing, diaphragm, you're going to open up that breathing, large muscles based at the lungs that will allow you to contract, inhale, allow the lungs to expand and fill with air, and then exhale. Right? And enabling you to get that breath in, getting that breath out in a controlled manner. And so you'll learn how to use that. And again, all of the same benefits that I talked about before: stress, cardio, vascular, oxygen exchange, lung function, all of those things happen with diaphragmatic breathing, right? Belly breathing. And you can start with just learning how to breathe through the belly, right? You can do 5 minutes of diaphragmatic breathing in the morning. You could do it, just at lunch, or during a break when you're at work and, things are getting a little bit spicy here. Let's focus. Let's get some breathing in. Let's breathe through the belly, or all the time. You should actually be breathing through your belly all the time. In fact, I can't remember exactly where it was. Oh, it was at a UFC actually. And I was sitting down. We were just sitting and relaxing, figuring out what our next move was. In between whatever. I don't even remember what it was actually, but I do remember the situation that I was breathing through the belly and my belly was expanding, right? Because I'm breathing through my belly, so it's expanding. And I remember someone looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What?" And I didn't understand what they meant by "what are you doing," because I didn't realize that they were seeing that, because when I breathe, that's how I breathe. So I don't know. I'm not cognizant of me expanding my belly, but they were. So they were asking me, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, what am I doing?" And that, you do the Laurel and Hardy, back and forth. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about your breathing." "What do you mean my breathing?" "I'm breathing." And, back and forth, and realize that he's talking about my stomach. And I'm like, "Oh, that's just diaphragmatic breathing." And then I went through a whole and taught him how to diaphragmatically breathe. And it was a game changer for him. So that's the one thing. And like I mentioned before, learning how to breathe through the diaphragm is going to be the foundation of your breathing. Then you add deep breathing. And again, deep breathing is taking belly breathing, but it involves taking slower, deeper, more controlled breaths. So you're right. And some of these breathing sessions will have holds in between, holding your breath. But again, this will activate and trigger your body's natural relaxation response, right? And recovery response. So you're just really, enhancing your oxygen intake and improving that relaxation. And so how do we practice this on a daily basis, right? So we know now that diaphragmatic breathing is the way we should be breathing, right? So learning how to do that is going to be the very first thing. I like to do things in steps. And then you add some deep breathing. Right now, again, there's so many other different types of breathing out there. I'm just thinking, what is the best type of breathing that us guys in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s can implement into our overall health that will give us the best benefits for our overall health, for who we need to be as men, who we need to be for our families, for our communities, for the people that we serve. It's going to be deep breathing. It's going to be deep breathing. And so every morning when I wake up, I have my routine, right? My routine starts with the gratitude journal. I've showed that many times. It's meditation for 5-10 minutes. I'm actually just, all I do now is use my own meditation audio just to take me through the meditation, depending on what I want to do. Depending on what's happening with my body. Do I need muscle relaxation? Do I need to feel good? Do I need gratitude? Whatever the type of meditation. And then sitting back and doing some breathing, right? Using different techniques. And there's so many different ones. There's you can do like the box breathing, like we talked about, 4-4-4-4. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold that breath out for 4, and continue for 10, 15, 20 minutes. You can do breathing that will help you with relaxation, right? Consciously breathing deep in and deep out. You can walk and deep breathe, right? Walk at a relaxed, slow pace. People are telling you all the time, you got to go for a walk every day. Angela's the queen of hiking and walking, but you go for a walk as you're walking, maybe after dinner to help with digestion. You're also deep breathing. So you're getting your steps in, you're getting your, whatever the cardio people, zone 2 cardio or whatever they want to say, you're exercising, you're moving. Actually, I don't like calling walking exercising. That's just my own thing, because people will think that if I just walk, I'm exercising, but we have to build muscles. So, walking is, but depending on where you're at in your health, walking could be the best way to start. So walking, you're exercising, you're getting your 10,000 steps or whatever it is. You're helping digestion if it's after your food, and your deep breathing. So you're practicing those deep breaths. Inhale deeply as you take 5 steps. Exhale deeply as you take 5 steps, and just continue on that. Right? There's the tactical breathing that we talked about. Again, 4-4-4. And the Navy SEALs, which is tactical breathing, which is they use this deliberate, deep, controlled breaths to help calm their mind and their body so they can focus during, so they can focus and make clear-minded decisions, whether it's in a stressful situation or they just need to make decisions. Military operations are always in high stress. They always have to make quick decisions. They have physical exertion. All of these things, with all of these things happening, you have to maintain calm and focus. Tactical breathing, that's what they use. It manages the physiological response to stress. It reduces panic and increases clarity, specifically during chaotic situations. Whether it's during combat, whether it's post-combat, and even during daily training. Because one of the things about this is you can't just tap into it. You have to drill. Do this every single day. Every day. Every morning. And once you implement that 4-4-4 or diaphragmatic breathing or muscle relaxation breathing, you're off to the races. Right? You're off to the races. So how do we implement this? Right? Again, if you are interested, go to over40shred.com/breathwork and grab it. I take you through not only diaphragmatic breathing, not only deep breathing. There are sessions, audio sessions that literally every day I send you daily emails to keep you accountable for those 21 days. We're starting right away. There's none of this, I bought it and then I set on the shelf. No, you buy it, we start. 2 days later, you're starting. The day after, you're practicing your deep, your diaphragmatic breathing. And in the end, I take you through some power breaths. But the key here is schedule times. So morning, set aside a designated time to do this every day at the beginning. Like you do with brushing your teeth, like you hopefully do with your meals, like you hopefully do with your exercise or going to work. This is extremely important. And start small, right? I'm giving you something that will guide you in. And with the hopes that after the 21 days, this opens up your mind more to explore more breathing techniques if you want. Or you could just use this the whole time. This is not one of those things where you have to consistently upgrade. You could just use these for the rest of your life and be good. And be great. And use this in every situation. Start your day, before meetings, during high stress moments, during combat, to combat the afternoon bonk. When you try to reach for caffeine, do some power breaths. Improve your sleep. This can be used every day throughout the day. It's not hard. It's something we already do. It's just mastering what we do. And so I mentioned diaphragmatic breathing, which is what I'll teach you. I mentioned deep breathing. So you'll have different types of deep breathing sessions, there's the box breathing, which you'll use. There's relaxation breathing. So like breathe in for 4, hold for 2, breathe in, out for 6, hold for 2. There's slow, deep breathing, 6-2, 6-2. I take you through a heart breathing for the heart, 6 and 6. There's so many different other styles of box breathing, balance breathing. So I'm taking you through different styles of breathing so you can learn how to control your breaths differently, whether it's the inhale, whether it's the exhale, whether it's the hold. You're going to learn how to control your breathing and master it. And then I teach you about power breathing, which is the Wim Hof power breaths that I learned. Again, I talked about going to Wim Hof. I believe I talked about that. That was like kind of like the last kind of like I used the power breaths for my own recovery, but then I'd never really done a Wim Hof workshop. And John here over at B Body Engineers, he had it happen, and we had a great gal who I got to get on this podcast, by the way. I got to get her on the podcast. In fact, after this episode, I'm going to tap into her, reach out to her, get her on this podcast, and she's going to do this justice. But the power breaths, 30 deep, quick breaths. I breathe through my mouth because I have a lot of congestion in my nose. In through my mouth, out through my nose. Doesn't matter how you do it, but it's quick, deep power breaths in through. It's kind of like circular, right? So through the chest, the diaphragm, and it's just. So a little bit of expansion in the upper, like in the chest, not upper chest like this, not constricting, but. And then once you get to the 30th, you take that last breath, let it out, and then you hold. And you hold for as long as you can. And then just when you think you're about to breathe, you take another quick breath in and hold for another 15 seconds. And you do this 3 or 4 times. That's Wim Hof's power breathing. And I'm telling you right now, when I did that, man, my body, I didn't even know what was happening. I didn't even know what was going on. The reaction, I felt like I was floating. First of all, I felt like I was floating, and I'm not like, listen, I have no ties to Wim Hof whatsoever. I'm not a trained or certified Wim Hof a trainer. I don't have an affiliate with Wim Hof. I got nothing with Wim Hof. I'm just giving you my experience and saying that I'm going to teach you in my program. But again, like this is nothing. I'm not trying to promote. I'm going to tell you my experience. You know, whether you believe me. And it's so funny because when I talk about this, people who've done Wim Hof workshops, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Everyone's different, of course. But for me, because I kind of knew the power, but I didn't really know the power because I wasn't doing it in the way that I learned in the workshops. I was just doing, like in the mornings, I was just doing 30 power breaths and doing that cycle of, you know, breathing, exhale, hold, recovery. And I would just do it once. But at the workshop, we did it 3 to 4 times. In fact, I think we did it 4 times, and we did it again 4 times before we went outside in the freezing cold, jumped in that water, ice bath in the freezing cold with snow on the ground, with our bare feet. But that's a whole other story. In fact, I want to tell that story because not to you, not now, but I tell that story in the Breathwork program, so you can go get it there. But anyways, my experience with that was, I literally felt like my body was floating, and then I had this just incredible feeling of joy and happiness. And I saw my parents and Angela, and then I started bawling, like right there. I started crying for no reason, but it wasn't a cry of pain or suffering. It was just a cry of joy and just feeling, oh my God, I feel incredible. It's almost like you don't feel like you should feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't feel like I deserve to feel this good. Right? Like that was the other thing that came after. I'm like, I felt amazing. And you know how we beat ourselves up? I don't do it anymore, but we beat ourselves up. We call ourselves the the most brutal things. We are the worst to us than anybody else in the world. We call ourselves the most heinous things that you would never say to anybody else. We do that to ourselves, whether we think that or we actually say it to ourselves. And we sabotage ourselves because we feel like we don't deserve whatever it is that we're doing that's giving us that pleasure, that healthy pleasure, or that success. And so we hit this, we hit this, our proverbial ceiling, which is here, as opposed to, like, there is no ceiling of what we deserve, of what we can do, of what we can accomplish, but we sabotage ourselves. You're doing so well in the program. You get the workouts done. Your body's starting to change and you're getting the nutrition. And all of a sudden you look at yourself and subconsciously you feel, because something happened back in the day that you haven't dealt with, and it starts to creep up. And then you start calling yourselves all this bull crap and you feel like you don't deserve it. So you sabotage yourself. You go eat a pizza, or you don't do workouts, or you literally are sabotaging your results. Why would you stop doing something that transforms your body and your health, and you stop it? Because we feel like we don't deserve it. Oh, we're doing so great at work. We're doing everything. And all of a sudden we sabotage it. We don't feel like we should be moving up in what we're doing in life, whether it's in life, at work, with our bodies, with our health, with a relationship. Oh, this person's way too good for me. They're treating me amazing. I don't deserve it. Let me go cheat on them. And that way, because I don't deserve this. Like, that's the freaking ridiculous mentality that goes through in between people's heads. Let me, you know what? Life's going too well right now. Let me go and use drugs. Let me sabotage because things are going way too good. I don't deserve this. I'm a bad person. You know all the stuff I used to do back in the day? And now look at all the great stuff that I don't deserve this. Nope. I got to sabotage. So the great feeling that I got, almost that feeling of I don't deserve it almost crept up and overtook me. But of course, we can't control thoughts. We only can control what we do with those thoughts. And so that's like, oh, no, you do deserve this. And in fact, you deserve to take part in this every single day. So you feel like this every day. And so you, as a man in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, listening to this episode right now, you deserve to be in the best health you possibly can, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and doing so using a technique that has been proven by science, by research, by proof to enhance our overall health and well-being, our happiness, our focus. Why would we not want to give it a try? I'm just saying, give me 21 days of your time, or go do it on your own. But if you need help, give me 21 days and I will introduce you to something that you've probably never done before for 21 days straight. And give me those 21 days. And if you feel like crap after the 21 days, or you didn't learn anything after 21 days, I'll give you your money back. But you have to implement it for 21 straight days. You got nothing to lose. I don't want your money anyway if that's how you're going to feel. But I guarantee you, if you implement this for 21 days, you're going to feel absolutely incredible. You're going to feel different. You're going to feel better than you did 21 days before. And then it's up to you to either continue to use the same thing or move on and explore other ways to optimize your overall health and, most importantly, your mental recovery, because that's what we're talking about. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Diaphragmatical breathing, deep breathing, power breaths. That's what you'll learn in the 21-day breathwork challenge for men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Yes, if you're a woman listening to this, you can do it too, but I'm in the business of helping men do and get into the best shape they possibly can. So go to over40shred.com/breathwork and get it done today. I love you. You're amazing. And I'll see you on the other side. Get it done.